So yesterday I did a video talking about Ezra Mam and why I believe that he should be sacked/suspended from the Brisbane Broncos and maybe even suspended from the NRL in general for quite a few years. And it went down really well. There's a lot of people who agreed. There's a few people who had some nice little points, but for the most part, I would say 90% of people agree with me. And they said that Ezra Mam should be rubbed out at least from the Broncos, at least for a significant amount of time, rather than a slap on the wrist. And they got me thinking about, what's the future of the Broncos? Like, already at this point, even without the Ezra Mam thing, I probably would have been thinking a similar sort of path. But I want to do a video talking about why the Brisbane Broncos will not win a premiership for at least 5 years. And I did a very similar video talking about the Rabbitohs, I believe, and I think it's pretty spot on. We can see they're in a little bit of a rebuilding phase. You know, they signed people like Jack White and stuff. But as soon as Adam Reynolds announced his departure, I did a video and I said, if they don't win it this year, they're done. And they made the grand final and they ended up losing. And then since then, it's all been downhill. So I was pretty spot on with that one. And I thought I'd do a similar little video in the off-season talking about the Broncos. And I took down some notes and, you know, a lot of points that I made in these notes. I think they're quite relevant. And as time goes on, I would like to think that these will sort of come in fruition. But maybe they will, maybe they won't. Maybe this will age incredibly poorly. Wouldn't be the first time this has happened, but I just thought I'd give some reasons why the Broncos will not win a premiership in the near future. And you look at their roster, and I feel like their roster is very heavily based on them winning a premiership in the near future. You look at a lot of the ages of the players. Some of them are super young. Some of them are hitting their peak. Some of them are hitting the end of their career, Adam Reynolds and such. And I'm going to give reasons why that's good and why that's bad as well. For every sort of one, like a Reece Walsh, right? He's super young. And even like Ezra Mam. We've got to get to Ezra Mam as well. But for all these guys who are super young and absolute prodigies and you think they're going to progress and all that sort of stuff, I'm also going to give a reason why that might be a bad thing in terms of them trying to win premiership right now. And that's what I feel like the Broncos have been trying to do in the last couple of years. And I think the perfect example of that is the signing of Adam Reynolds, is that they identified this crop as like, all right, these guys, like I said, prodigies. These guys were super young. At the time when Adam Reynolds signed, these guys were 22, 23. Some of the best, you know, if in terms of the actual age of them, they were easily like the best of their age group. Your Payne Haas's, your Paddy Carrigans, Tony Staggs, Selwyn Cobbo, just to name a few. Reece Walsh, obviously there, Ezra Mam. So many guys who were absolute studs in this side. And they went from being like a wooden spoon side and bring Reece Walsh in. They went up in the ladder, and I expected that to happen. I also didn't really expect them to drop off as much as what they did this year. I expected them to drop off, but just not as much. But obviously, a lot of off-field situations. But also, their age is kind of showing with a lot of the off-field indiscretions, especially Ezra Mam, but Reece Walsh as well is another one who's been getting in trouble from the second that he signed from the Broncos in terms of, I recall a situation where he was at the Burleigh Pavilion or whatever it's called, and he got in trouble there with drugs, and obviously, you know, him and Ezra Mam overseas got into a little bit of controversy. So it's not like Reece Walsh is someone not only flamboyant and like a little bit of a showman on the field, and has its critics, it has its fans and all that sort of stuff, but he's a guy who does find himself in a little bit of controversy, and I feel like that's where the Broncos keep finding themselves. Just a whole bunch of guys in controversy, whether they're experienced guys like Adam Reynolds or some of their leaders like Paddy Carrigan having their little incident. It was a bit of a nothing incident, but at the same time, it was something that was in the papers. It was another bit of controversial issue, and this is something that I've been talking about in the comments of the video that I did with Ezra Mam, is that you look at a team like the Panthers, who are a very similar predicament, where that a lot of guys come through the grades together, a very, very young side. Broncos not so much as the Panthers. It's not like they just took their whole under-20 squad and chucked them in the first grade, which is pretty much what the Panthers have done. And they've done it successfully, and then people have left, and obviously they've come through. But apart from Taylor May and Tyro May, just both the brothers, there's been no controversy. There's been no issues with Nathan Coote. Obviously the COVID thing, but COVID was just a weird time. That's about it. Other than that, clean skin. Absolute clean skins. And you can say what you want about Jerome Luai and a bunch of those sort of boys about whether they were, good or bad influences or whatever. But their stuff was purely on the field, whereas the Broncos they're doing it off the field. And, Payne Haas has had a lot of controversy, some family-wise. It's stuff that he can't help. Like, that's definitely not on him. But He's also had some incidents himself that were on him. You know what I mean? With the coppers and all that sort of stuff. I mean, he's threatened a woman, a female cop, and said he would hit her and all that sort of stuff. So there's that element of just immaturity at the Broncos, and they don't really have too many experienced guys, and that's where I feel like some of the other clubs do now, especially like the Panthers now. A lot of those guys have developed into experienced campaigners, and I think the Broncos, they don't have that. Some of those guys have been playing first grade from a similar sort of time as what the Panthers boys have, but they just don't have that maturity, and I think that is something that they really, really lack at the Broncos, and probably a lot of it is to do with, I think, the coaching and just the culture at the Broncos, and the fact that at the time they were a one city town, so there was no threat. Then you look at some of the guys who have left in recent years, your Herbie Farmworths, your Fleglers, all that sort of stuff. Those guys in previous years, I don't think they leave, but the fact that there's an actual opposition for the first time in however long, in fact the whole competition, there's a little bit of competition in terms of, you know, location, so they don't have to move interstate, they don't have to go to the Titans, they don't have to go to these teams that they don't really want to. The Cowboys are in Queensland, but they're not similar to Brisbane, you know what I mean? So now they've got this team that's, at least your location-wise, plenty of money to work with. So the first time the Broncos have to fork out some good money for these guys, and we've seen that with Reece Walsh's contract, just through the roof, and some of the others. So they're overpaying for some players that they probably wouldn't have had to in the past. In fact, the Broncos were the team that if you were a Queenslander and you were good in like a Sydney side, oh, we're homesick and we're going to play for the Broncos and we're taking unders to go play for the Broncos. Whereas now, like Cameron Munter, for example, he would have been someone who would have 100% just been talking about going to the Broncos. Whereas the recent chats were he was going to go to the Dolphins, and obviously ended up signing with the Storm, but instead of just using the Broncos as a little bit of leverage or legitimately signing for them, they've got the Dolphins as a reason they can sort of bump up their contract or actually go to the Dolphins. So the Broncos are the only team in Brisbane, so that's one thing that's a strike against them. Secondly, their performances haven't been great. Apart from the 1 year where they end up making the grand final, other than that, Kevin Walters, they were absolutely diabolical. Like they went from a team that was like winning spoons and sort of, you know, barely making the 8 and all that sort of stuff. They had that one good season. Reece Walsh comes back, all the stars align, and they blew a lead. Honestly, they blew the grand final. It didn't happen, and that's probably the closest they'll get in many, many years. But obviously, I've just done a video talking about Ezra Mam. I can't not touch on that. And the fact that Ezra Mam, Adam Reynolds, they were seen as like, they were the halves combination that was going to lead them to glory. Adam Reece Walsh. Billy Walters was kind of there. I think Billy Walters, honestly, I think he's probably a big problem to the Broncos. The hooker position is so important, honestly. Probably with like Cameron Smith and a few of those sort of guys, it was like, all right, number 9 is the position. And then once Cameron Smith and stuff retired, it kind of ended up back in the halves. But I still think the hook position is one of the most influential positions. And as a Bulldogs fan, Reid Marnie, I've seen him. He had one of our better seasons, and obviously the results sort of carried on from it. And it's just, you can't understate the role of the spine. And Reece Walsh has so many errors in his game, and so do the whole Broncos as a whole. There's just so many errors, so many little things that they do, and they're so hot and cold. They ride the momentum, whether it's good or bad. And I don't want to ramble too much, but yeah, between their spine, like, they're really good. When they get things right, the Broncos spine, maybe the best spine in the game, honestly. When they get it right, they're putting 40 and 50 on the team, right? When everything sticks, when you know, every little kick happens, every little offload happens, you know, every bomb they catch, everything like that. When everything comes off, Broncos fantastic. They are incredible to watch. Everybody knows that at this point. But at the same time, for every game like that, there's also another game where Reece Walsh can't catch a bomb. They're forcing offloads. They're, you know, just bad errors. That's kind of just what the Broncos are like. They kind of ride the good with the bad. And you can't do that. If you want to be a premiership contender, you can't do that. You've got to be consistent week in, week out. You can't put in a good string of performances. And we've seen so many teams go on runs. And we've seen some of them just all-time runs. Whether it's Parramatta, Cowboys had a good one. There's been plenty of teams who've been able to put it together for 5, 6, 7 weeks and just being absolutely unstoppable. And when it comes to the big games, they don't get it done. Even the Broncos, to a degree, were like that. a couple of years ago when, Walters was still the coach. But the Broncos really worry me in the sense that I think we're going to see a mad downfall. And I think this is something that it's expected, but it's not expected at the same time. Now, McGuire's going to come in, and it'll probably be dismissed just with how the theme of this video is. It's not exactly complimentary to the Broncos. However, I feel like McGuire will actually improve the Broncos for the first, second year, third year. But we've seen with every other club that McGuire's been at, either they've had success and they've fallen off very, very quickly. I mean, you can look at the Rabbitohs, for example. They peaked at McGuire in one of his first, his second year, 2012. 2013, 2014, they win the title. Never really got close until Bennett and all that sort of stuff. So they peaked then. So he's shown that he can get players to the elite, but he needs those elite players. And the Broncos definitely do have some elite players. No doubts about that. But it's just a matter of the fact that Ezra Mam, obviously his situation, you expect that something drastic is going to happen. Whether it's a long-term suspension, whether it's him getting the axe entirely. Yeah, Adam Reynolds, hamstring, just injuries in general. This guy's pretty busted. He's pretty old. He's 34 now, 35 next year. I think McGuire will get a good season out of them, maybe a good 2 seasons, and then things sort of go downhill. He's very hard in his plays. He trains them hard. And with how the Broncos are, I feel like they're mentally fragile. They've shown it. They've shown it time in, time out, that they don't really handle things off the field. When they're playing and they're winning, things are good. But in terms of training, all that sort of stuff, there's always rumours about Payne Haas wants out. At the moment, Selwyn Cobbo's the next one who wants out. You think if they're not winning for a couple seasons, you don't think that there's going to be talks of like your Paddy Carrigans, your Payne Haases, your Tony Staggs, all those guys who are at the moment young, but another 2 or 3 seasons, they're going to be guys who are on the back end of their careers, sort of on the back end of their 20s. There's going to be a lot of talk about, hey, these guys, if they want to win a premiership, they should probably look elsewhere. Maybe they should go to somewhere else. Maybe they should go to Sydney. Maybe they should go to, I don't know, whoever the top team is at the time. This is the formula that happens. You see these guys who play for good teams who aren't winning, and they sort of think that they're above their team. And say for example, Pat Carrigan, he ends up 27, 28 at the back end of his contract at the Broncos, and the Broncos aren't doing anything. Payne Haas is another one. He's, even at the best of times, he always gets talked about making a move. But you think of these sort of guys, you don't think there's going to be talk from the media about, hey, maybe he should go to the Roosters, or like maybe he should go to Penrith. What if he wants to win a premiership? He's not going to be doing it at the Broncos. It doesn't generally happen at the Broncos, but at the moment, I could see it happening just because even at the best of times, there's always rumours about a Payne Haas moving. So, yeah, you don't think if they're going to have a few down years, or teams like years where they're not winning premiership, because I don't think they're winning premiership in the next year or the next year after that. And they sort of went all in on a guy like Adam Reynolds, and at the time, great signing, and they didn't end up winning the premiership. If they won the premiership, they were minutes away from it, literally like 2 or 3 minutes away from it. Would have said this is amazing. And I stand by the fact that the Rabbitohs really stuffed up by letting go of Adam Reynolds. But the Broncos have sort of went all in on, like, we've got a young side, but Adam Reynolds guide them around. They don't really have a plan B if Adam Reynolds isn't there. And that was definitely being shown in this previous year when he was out injured a lot. So, by that logic, Adam Reynolds is gone. And Ezra Mam possibly gone too. Probably going to be some down years. And even if Ezra Mam doesn't get sacked or whatever, you think this is going to impact his career. Like, I can't really see him coming back just this outstanding prodigy. At least he's going to be impacted somewhat, whether he's at the club or he's not at the club. I don't see it working out well for Ezra Mam. And again, egg on my face. I could be sitting here and he's winning a Dally M or something like that. But at the same time, I think the Broncos are really going to struggle with their halves. And also, they've got a hooker problem too that was, I think, overlooked because of how strong the rest of the side was. And they ride the momentum. That's exactly what I said. They ride the momentum when it's good. They ride the momentum when it's bad. And we've seen the both ends of it. When it's good, they end up in a grand final. When it's bad, they've won wooden spoons in the past too, with very similar rosters. It's just very interesting sort of dynamic at the Broncos, and it seems to be getting more and more off chops outside the field. And I just can't see a world in which, if they're not winning premierships and not in contention for it in the next 1 or 2 years, that the media doesn't start harping on about why Payne Haas should move to insert team here, and why Patrick Carrigan should move, and why Cobbo shouldn't move, and why Katoni Stagg shouldn't, and why Reece Walsh shouldn't as well. This is just the nature of the beast. This is just what happens. So I can see for sure there being a lot of talk about Broncos if they don't go ahead and have great seasons in the next couple of years, which, like I said, I think they'll have better seasons than what they had, but I don't see them competing for a premiership, so I think that will be a problem. But yeah, let me know in the comment section below. I've kind of rambled on a fair bit about this issue, but I think the Broncos are in trouble. They're in real trouble at the moment, and they're not in the obvious one where, say for the Tigers, for example, you look at their side and you go, talent-wise, it's probably not there. They've signed a couple good players, but you kind of, if they were wooden spooners or whatever, or like the Dragons or someone, or even the Bulldogs in previous years, you're like, all right, I can understand this one. The Broncos definitely don't have the talent to be down there, but you just know with all the indiscretions and controversy and stuff going on, you can expect it to sort of probably and possibly happen. And I just think if it does happen, and that's them done for a significant time, they're definitely in for a rebuild regardless of whether it's a good time or a bad time next couple of years. I don't see them winning a premiership, and they're going to have to rebuild regardless because Adam Reynolds is getting pretty old. So let me know in the comment section below, what do you think is going to happen with the Broncos? Are they done? Because I personally think they are. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. I won't drag it on too long, so thanks for watching. And catch me for my next videos. I don't really do too many of these little opinion sort of pieces. So thank you for watching my previous video and watching this one, and I'll see you in the next one. See yous. Well, that's the end of this video. If you happen to enjoy it, make sure you leave a like, subscribe. You know the drill at this point. Everybody YouTuber says it. Just go ahead and do it. It'd really help me out. Also, why not go ahead and check out some of these other videos that are on the screen right now.